after which they can go get him because they haven't found anything yet to get him.
That was Rush Limbaugh making a great point earlier today, saying the breathless hysteria media coverage of the Cohen FBI raid, that's all designed to provoke the president to fire Mueller. Here with reaction, the author of the bestseller Trumped Up, How the Criminalization of Political Differences Endangers Democracy. Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz is with us. So I read reports that you were at the White House today with the president. Can you share any details?
Well, it was a prearranged, pre-scheduled meeting with White House staffers regarding the ongoing peace process in the Middle East. I have advised every president since Bill Clinton on Israel, because obviously people know it's a passion with me, and trying to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict is something I've been working on, writing about. I've written 6 books on the subject, and I was scheduled to meet with staff members in the White House for a period of time, and that was the primary focus of the meeting. It was very nice. Then I was invited to have dinner with the president and a few other people, and we discussed the Middle East and a range of subjects, right?
Well, it's a subject we also agree on, by the way, and we have for many, many years. And we made a lot of progress, by the way, with this president doing things that no other president has done, which you got to give him so much credit for.
Absolutely.
You actually, we got a lot of commentary on your appearance last night, and you've even taken it a step further, that this raid of the president's private attorney in his office, in his home, and as he was staying in a hotel, I guess, because of construction, that you say violated constitutional rights, Professor.
Well, you can't just go and sweep up all lawyer-client privileged information and then give it over to some FBI agent or a low-ranking U.S. attorney and say, well, go through it. And the stuff that isn't privileged, turn over to the prosecutors. The stuff that is privileged, well, you can read it and you can study it, but you can't give it to prosecutors. The Fourth and Sixth Amendment don't just protect against use of evidence in a criminal trial. They protect privacy. Imagine if instead of going into lawyer-client privilege, they tape recorded a person's confession to his priest or rabbi, or went into somebody's home and recorded conversations with his wife, or conversations between a doctor and a patient. The lawyer-client privilege is as sacrosanct as that, and there has to be a very, very good reason before any prosecutor should have a right to look at any such material.
You said that where are America's civil libertarians on this? Because it is such a violation. I want to ask you this question because I think this is important. Do you? I thought Rush. I'll use his word. I thought it was right on target that what we see the prosecutor doing here is because there's no evidence of collusion. They seem to be trying to goad the president. He does have the right to fire Mueller. That's established. But it seems like they want to precipitate some type of crisis because they found no Russia collusion.
Well, I don't believe the president will fire anybody. I think that what we're seeing is a bifurcation of the investigation. I think Mueller has now acknowledged that he doesn't have the authority to look into Mr. Donald Trump's pre-presidential activities, and so he's filtered that off and given that to the Southern District of New York, which is now going to investigate those aspects because apparently they couldn't find anything substantial when it comes to the president's exercise of his Article II authority. The president had the right to fire Comey. He had the right to determine what was to be investigated. He would have the right to pardon, though I don't think it would be a wise thing to do at this time. But they're now moving some of the case over to the Southern District to look into some other matters regarding his lawyer, his private activities, some negotiated settlements. That seems like a subterfuge by which Mueller doesn't have the authority, so he gives it to somebody else, gives them the information. It's like laundering information to another prosecutorial authority.
I mentioned this earlier. This, to me, seems like the greatest danger, and this is I think this is where the constitutional issue comes in terms of this is so far beyond A, his mandate, B, by getting into the private records of the president's personal attorney. At that point, doesn't that backdoor Mueller, even though it's the Southern District of New York, right into every business deal, right into every private agreement that the president has ever made?
He's trying to have it both ways. He's trying to say, look, I'm not looking into this, but I'm just giving the material over to the Southern District for them to look into it. But the Southern District never would have gotten the material but for the fact that Mueller investigated and discovered some of this material. And, you know, It's a dangerous thing to start intruding into lawyers' offices. It will make it much harder for people to trust their lawyers, their doctors, their priests, their spouses. When people will say, look, even the president's most confidential communications with his lawyer can now be searched just based on probable cause, which is a very, very low standard, I think there'll be great distrust of relationships that are very important to American society, confidential relationships between a priest and a penitent and a doctor and a patient and a lawyer and a client. That's not a good day for democracy.
I think that's well said, Professor. I know you've had a busy 24 hours. You were with us last night, up early this morning on Fox and Friends with the president. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, President Trump could take military action against Syria at any moment. Ed Henry, he's live at the White House tonight. He'll have a full report. And what are the